everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than my typical videos. It's going to be a reading 1-star reviews of some of my favorite books. This was totally inspired by Eleni from Books with Eleni. I watched her video, I loved it, I cracked up, it was hilarious. I'll have her channel linked down below. But I also wanted to address a couple of things in today's video at the beginning. So today, the day I am filming this, is June 5th. And today would have been Breonna Taylor's 27th birthday. And unfortunately, her family and friends are in mourning today because she doesn't get to celebrate that because of a no-knock warrant that was issued so that civilian dressed police officers could enter her house in the middle of the night, where her boyfriend would get worried and take a shot at one of the officers, which would hit him in the leg, leading the officers to fire off 20 shots, 8 of which that hit and killed Breonna Taylor. And this is, the fact that this is even legal blows my mind. So I'm going to have a petition linked down below that you can sign for justice for Breonna Taylor, as well as a hotline with a script that you can call and state, and this is seeking justice for Breonna to get the detectives and the cops that were involved with this no-knock warrant. I will have all that linked at the very top of the description. It's everything written out, and yeah, so I know that was a little bit heavier, but it is reality. This is something that we all need to take a stand for, and I have a voice and a platform that I can use to talk about this. So I will have it all linked down below. Now that I got that out of the way, we're gonna get into the video. Hey everybody, so right now we're going to be doing a reading 1-star reviews of some of my favorite books. Now, I kind of tweaked this a little bit because this idea was totally inspired by Eleni from Books with Eleni, who I love and adore. She's the sweetest. Credit will be given in the description box to her video and her channel. But I realized that there aren't too many books that I love like 5-star ratings or anything, so I thought it would be funny to also read the 1-star reviews of books that were not my favorite, because I don't know, I thought it would be entertaining, and what better way than to see my true opinions about these books. So I'm gonna have it kind of broken up into timestamps because I am going to be using explicit language in this video, because the Goodreads review section is a colorful place, and it is very funny to read through. So we're gonna get to that in a minute, but I have put them in progression of what I would assume would have more explicit reviews. So we're gonna start off with some YA fantasy, and then we're gonna go into more new adult books, so that would be Sarah J Maas, and then I've got 3 adult romance contemporaries. So if you're younger or you don't like explicit language, I'll have a timestamp at the end of YA fantasy and then at the end of new adult, so then the rest of the video will be adult contemporary. So we're gonna get started, and the first, I'll have the books up on the screen, but the first reviews I'm gonna be reading from are City of Bones, which is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare, and this was recommended to me by a friend who I absolutely adore and love. Shout out to Abby. And she was a little hesitant to see if I would like it or not, and if you don't know, if you haven't read any of these books, there might be a little bit of spoilers. So there is an aspect between our 2 kind of main characters, love interests, Jace and Clary, within this series. And at the end of book 1, we find out, and I've only read the first book, so I can only speak on what I know, but we find out that they're related somehow. And I was like, what is going on here? So the first review is from Nick, and he said, Clary, just shut the hell up, which I think that is absolutely hilarious. And I rated this book 3 stars, so it gets really bad the lower you get down. Also, the funniest thing I feel like of these Goodreads reviews are when people put in GIFs And so it's of her slapping Jace, and she recommends it for people who have the hots for dickhead heroes. And she just said I had to do it, which I think is hilarious. We're gonna keep going on. So then Jess says, really there's nothing very original or satisfying in the book. She borrowed so heavily from Buffy, Harry Potter, and Star Wars that it sticks out like a sore thumb. It read like altered fan fiction, and I love fan fiction, make no mistake, but it's not attempting to make a buck off someone else's world either, which is essentially what the book is. Cobbled fan fiction that has no cohesion. Yeah, I physically read, City of Bones. I am in the middle of the Infernal Devices series, which I highly recommend. If you don't like Mortal Instruments, skip to the Infernal Devices. I liked it so much more, and maybe you will too. So much happens in the book, and I feel like a lot of it was unimportant at parts, but I also don't know, it could contribute to the story later on. So I'm definitely judging based on the first book, and I'm gonna try and keep these first few ratings as PG as possible, as I've already said dickhead. But anyways, the next one is Reader Ramble, and she recommends it for no one. And it was recommended to her by myself in a moment of sheer stupidity, which I think that's funny. And she added it to the shelf. Why does this make money? I'm sorry, these are so funny. And then she says, why oh why did I waste such valuable reading time finishing this? Because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. Reader Ramble continues to say, I will tell you, I've heard the Cassandra Clare plagiarism arguments, and that this book is basically a reworked fan fiction like the famed 50 Shades of Grey books. I will not go into those details. I'm just going to look at what has been presented to me in a digital style format for Kindle. She said, what did I just read? How in the hell did this get published? Did she sell her soul to the devil or something? I currently want to rub my head along the floor as I walk in the futile hope that I'll rub this book from my memory. Clary's description on this one is absolutely iconic, and I love it, so I just wanted to share it. It says, Clary, this little lovely is a 15/16-year-old redhead who loves her sketchbook and doesn't think she's pretty. Sounds like me in high school. I should relate, right? Wrong. Clary is one of the angriest, self-absorbed, whiniest little brats I've ever had the displeasure of getting to know. She goes on to, this just literally kills me. She says, I've read my share of female protagonists who go down like cheap alcohol. They put up a fight and don't agree once you think you've stomached them. But I like those gals anyway. Clary is not one of them. Okay, so we're gonna stop hating on City of Bones, but I just thought that was really funny, and I wanted to share because it made me laugh. So, we're going to move on to The Cruel Prince now, which I'm so super duper excited about. I loved The Cruel Prince. 5 out of 5 stars, truly. But it was also the first book that got me into YA fantasy. So I think it'll always have a soft spot in my heart. And I hear that a lot of people don't like the morally gray aspect, where, you know, I feel like a lot of the characters within Cruel Prince are in it for themselves, definitely. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. So this is gonna be a little bit different. So Nani said, 384 pages, 0 substance. Unless you call pages littered with problematic shit substance. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Before, this book is my first experience with Holly Black. It'll either make or break our future relationship. After, any plans for a potential future relationship is hereby terminated. Over, done with, null and void, canceled. You get the point. I really like this one just because there was a GIF. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. A GIF. I'm gonna say GIF. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Of Ross Geller, which, oh God, it is absolutely stunning. Honestly, your point is valid, but I would like a little bit more elaboration. Then there is A Fox Among Stars, and she said, Let me preface this review by saying, what the f was this shit? I cannot believe I wasted time out of my freaking life to read this crap. Like, really? I don't get the hype, seriously. Authors and reviewers here on Goodreads that I trust raved about this book, and I'm here lighting the fire so I can burn the freaking pages. First of all, the writing is horrendous. It's the worst case of tell not show I've ever seen. Twilight was better written than this, which was what cracked me up. I did this, she did that, and now I'm gonna do this, blah blah. There was no emotion in the writing. I did not feel any attachment toward the world of fairyland, and I couldn't connect with the protagonist, Jude, because I wanted to bash her in the teeth the entire time. She acts recklessly even when other people warn her repeatedly not to do the thing. And for the first 200 pages, she does nothing but complain. Oh, boo-hoo, I'm a human, boo-hoo, I'm not as pretty or as strong or as fast. My heart bleeds. So, we're gonna just elaborate on that, because I've actually heard a lot of people complain. Not complain. I've just heard a lot of people say stuff in regards to Jude and how she is morally gray. She really doesn't care. She does what she wants. She does it if she's told to. She does it if she's told not to. And she really, sometimes it doesn't even seem like she has self-interest involved because she doesn't care. So I definitely understand that. And then I think that Holly Black really took on the approach of the, I don't really know how to say it. She just kind of encapsulated what I think of as like a good depiction of fairies. So they can't lie, they're better looking, and I could assume how difficult it would be being a human in a fairy world. So with that being said, I agree, but also agree to disagree. And the one reason I wanted to include this was because, and I'm going to eventually do a songs I associate with books video because I have a lot of them, and I'll talk about this in that as well. But for the entirety of Cruel Prince and Wicked King, because that's when I read the story, the only first 2 books were out, I listened to the Twilight soundtrack by Carter Burwell, and it was the song Bella's Lullaby, and I listened to it the entirety. So now anytime I hear that book, I think of my like mental picture of what Elpham looks like, and I love it, so I'm okay with it. Then somebody said, 1 star, DNF 65%, I guess. Simply a no for me. This book has no story, no world building, no twists, no no nothing. The main characters, ugh, I couldn't stand them. The bullying parts had me eye-rolling at times. It's ridiculous. I wanted to stop before I gave it a chance. Furthermore, well, sorry, after half the book, I'm sick of going on. And I really liked this because we had a nice little gif of Neil Patrick Harris in How I Met Your Mother, Barney. Anyways, now we're gonna get on to An Ember in the Ashes by Sabathier because the Cruel Prince ones weren't that funny. But I absolutely loved An Ember in the Ashes by Sabathier. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I also did a whole entire book talk on it if you want to check that out, but it is spoiler filled, so I would just state, if you're not into being spoiled, don't watch it. But this video is kind of a spoiler too. So the top review is by Kai, which I love that name, and it is McGonagall shaking her head very disapprovingly, which I like. And it says, nope, I know Sabathier hardly received any criticism and absolutely everyone is amazed. Not me, I'm the opposite of amazed. For starters, the concept is ancient. Boy and girl are actually enemies but fall for each other. There's a spark, there's a revolution, there's a trial where competitors have to fight until only one survives. Very creative. So, still, some authors are able to work out a thrilling story. Sabathier was not. Next thing, the characters are shallow. There is no character depth in Elia, nor Elias, nor in anyone else. They were one-dimensional, and their heavy guilt and sorrow bored me to death. Don't even get me started on predictability. Everything just felt absolutely unrealistic to me. The poor world building and the fast-paced plot only made it worse. I couldn't get into it, but I really hate not finishing novels. I know this is a debut novel, but sadly, it also reads like one. I'm easily impressed. I'll start by saying that. So I really enjoyed the story. I will say with world building though, in my mind, I really felt like we were just in, to me, we're gonna go back to Cruel Prince. Elpham was just off the coast of like, what, Maryland? like off the East Coast. So it was just supposed to be like another world, but it felt like she'd created this whole world because in my head she had. But Saboteur, I just felt like we were like in our world, but just with a caste system. I don't know. I mean, people do that anyways, but that was that. Fafa's Book Corner said, DNF, I couldn't bring myself to finish this because of how brutal it was. Obviously, because of the synopsis, I knew it would be brutal. I decided to give it a chance anyways, thinking that I could take it. I was wrong, but I'm still glad that I tried. The writing, the characters, and the plot was well done. It just wasn't for me. I will agree. There definitely, if you are like more sensitive to certain topics, I would steer clear of An Ember in the Ashes, just because there were points in it when I wanted to cry because of what was going on. I was like, I just wanted to throw that one out there. So now we're gonna start on Sarah J Maas's books, which, speaking of world building, has anybody noticed, I'm not coming up with anything trivial here, but has anybody noticed how the maps that Sarah J Maas incorporates, hold on, I've got a Court of Frost and Starlight right here, and I don't know if there's a map in it, but if there is, of Prythian. Okay. So look at the map, soak it in, you know, whatever. Did she like Google search a map of like the United Kingdom and then ask for it to be blank and fill it in? Now, I don't have the map for Prythian is in Court of, what is Aurelia? So I'm looking at the map for Aurelia now, and it's Europe. I'm not seeing anything original. I'm just seeing she went into Google Images and asked for a blank map because like that resembles Spain. And then it connects, there will be Germany, you know, that would be the start of Italy. I don't know, I could be completely off here, but now we're gonna go on to Empire of Storms. I read this, I gave it 4 stars, and I gave it 4 stars because upon reading Throne of Glass, that was fine, and then for some reason I just continued on with the entirety of the series, and Empire of Storms was my favorite book out of all of them. Heir of Fire would be a close second, but I'm on my final book, Kingdom of Ash. She's right up there. But so far, my favorite has been Empire of Storms. Katerina Kondrenko, she said genre, high fantasy, fae, or stuff was fae, witches, dragons, a million kings and queens. And then she said fail, gross sex, repetitiveness, pathos. Gross sex is what made me laugh. And she goes on to say she always disliked Kale, she shipped Aelin and Rowan, and really liked Queen of Shadows, which wasn't my cup of tea. So she had no reason aside from Doran and Manon, their ship, to end up being the minority in the Empire of Storms opinions. And then she said, but then I read A Court of Mist and Fury, got suspicious, and yes, Empire of Storms is A Court of Mist and Fury #2, which is probably why I enjoyed it the most of the books. I just liked Lorcan. A big reason why I enjoyed it so much was Lorcan and Elodie's relationship. I thought it was cute. He was like ripping up his shirt and shit for her to use. That was very weird. If you've also read Empire of Storms, kind of cringy, but also sweet, you know, the message was nice. Yes. She said, this is very explicit, but she just says, she's talking about Manon and Dorian, and she goes, so they she lets him atop cause he's special. The end. That was funny. Elodie and Lorcan, these two had a chemistry spark but eventually became the couple. She just talks a lot about sex. We're gonna continue on to A Court of Mist and Fury, and obviously these are the minority, like there are not a lot of 1-star reviews, but they're funny. So once again, I love gifts, so we're gonna start off with not even 1 star, half a star. She did a buddy read and she said, first of all, this is marked as high fantasy. You've got to be kidding me. Brandon Sanderson and J.K. Rowling are somewhere sipping tea and laughing at this bullshit. So I've skimmed through the entire book. I still have no clue why this is so popular. A court of blah blah is boring as hell. Characters are infuriating and tiresome. They possess no unique or markable qualities. Quite on the contrary, actually. I think we all agree it's just plain wrong if a middle-aged man tries to get into a teenager's pants. But it's all hotness if you stretch the age gap from decades to centuries. I have some people in my family who are in age gap relationships, so I don't really see it as that big of a deal, but I will admit she's like I'm 19, okay? I'm 19, I'm almost 20, and that would be me being with somebody who's 540. Then they continue on to say, sex scenes were laughable and cringeworthy. I call this erotica for children. Don't look at me, I'm not the one who wrote it. Surely I can't be the only one who finds the term mate utterly ridiculous. I was dying laughing every time it was mentioned, just couldn't take it seriously, sorry not sorry. Then she said updates. What's with everyone snarling all the time? Who has an ebook? Someone look up how many times the word snarl was used. Someone actually checked, and it was 50 plus times. Now we're gonna get into the new adult section. So if you're, I'm not gonna put an age on this because I read 50 Shades of Grey when I was 13, but that just shows you how I've developed as a human. So I did state that the 1-star reviews were typically the minority with the past few reviews. Not with 50 Shades of Grey. The majority really are pretty bad. The first review that I absolutely loved is from Katrina Pasek Lumsden. She rated it 1 star. And this was back from 2012, which was a few years before I read the series. We're gonna adjust a little bit. I'm kind of getting uncomfortable. It's a whole shit ton of gifs. The first one being of Ernie from Sesame Street, who I channel on a daily basis. And they can proceed to say, what in the hell just happened? Did I really read that? Oh my god, I did. I did just read that. This is my favorite encapsulation of Anastasia Steele. And I'll also say, yes, when I was 13, I thought that this was God's greatest creation. I really thought that E.L. James had done something with this, and I was like, oh, Christian Grey is just damaged. He doesn't know what he's doing. Anna is just a giant mess of a human being. She's insecure to the point of it being laughable, klutzy, even though she only trips twice in the entire book, and a complete ditz. She's a virgin, of course, who's never taken any sexual interest in anyone before. Right. I'm fairly certain that there hasn't been a woman this naive since roundabout 1954. They really said roundabout. At one point, she thinks putting her hair in pigtails will keep her safe from Christian's lusty advances. She flushes constantly, and on several occasions refers to her hoo-hoo naughty place, which as down there. And then it's somebody going. Now we have Christian Grey. Christian is a misogynistic, self-loathing, abusive piece of shit. Apparently his only redeeming qualities are, in this order, his ridiculously good looks, his money, and his giant penis. The only time Anna seems to like him as a person is when he's being lovable, and those times are few and far between. Most of the time he's serious, brooding, and threatening. How charming. I knew from the very first line that this wasn't going to be good. I scowl with frustration at myself in the mirror. The review only gets more colorful as we go on, and even I have limits with how vulgar I will be. So we've got a lot of great metaphor or gifs. Somebody flipping him off. Zoolander. I'm pretty sure that's George Takami. Is that how you pronounce his name? I believe he was in Star Wars, going, ooh my. She also said, anyway, after reading about the description of Christian's building, hello, first penis metaphor. More Napoleon Dynamite. Psycho. Then they address the tampon scene. I'm gonna admit, I kind of understand because I believe that E.L. James was attempting to normalize a woman's period, which it should be normal. But I don't know why she had to be so descriptive, like him pulling, oh, I'm sorry, really can't do it. Then we've got, oh my gosh, this was another reason I absolutely loved this review. Because as a kid, I probably watched the movie A Labyrinth with David Bowie like 60 times. And there was a gif of him from that movie in there. She also calls him Mr. Ginormo Dick. Doesn't know that a woman can get pregnant while on her period. Also, Later's baby, Wasn't my favorite. Steph Sinclair said, introducing an even more abusive and disturbing Twilight now with whips and chains. 50 Shades of Shit. Haters, please exit stage left. I liked that one too. All right, I feel like that's enough time on 50 Shades of Grey, but like, I will just say that as the movies were getting released, I started coming into my adulthood and I went and saw them trying to look for some redeeming quality. I didn't find any. Like, it's just really not good. And the last and final book we're going to talk about is the bane of my existence. The Truth About Us by Ali Martinez. Now, The Truth About Lies was so good. And I was so excited and had such high expectations for The Truth About Us, which is the conclusion to the duet. And it sucked. I hated it so much. If I could give it negative stars, I would have. And I'm just gonna kind of skip around. So we've got, I like this one a little less than book one. The ending did not flow organically from the story. It was choppy and weird and too fast after 2 books. Then a different POV all of a sudden out of nowhere. Her explanation wasn't good enough. Halfway through the story, I lost respect of Rita, a whiner, self-centered, vindictive, stupid, and just immature. Just because a man has more money than a woman doesn't turn her into a pretty woman. This is where I quit reading. Cora had to be a hard woman, being a house mother to hookers and a punching bag her husband beat upon. You would think she would want to get away. I am a fan of Ali's stories, but this duet was not my cup of tea. Honestly, it could have been 1 book. Agreed. Okay, so I think that's enough for this video. I've talked much too long. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit different from my normal videos, but I enjoyed it and it was funny, and the reviews on Goodreads crack me up. It is a bottomless pit where you can just spend your days searching. So the lighting is going down, so it's gonna get a little funky, but I just want to say I wanted to thank each and every single one of you who has subscribed, because I'm filming this on a Friday, but Wednesday night I did hit 100 subscribers. So thank you so much to everyone who subscribed, commented, liked a video. It really means the world to me. I never thought when I started this channel 2 months ago that anybody would subscribe aside from my mom. So it really means the world to me, you guys, and I love interacting and talking with you guys. So I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. So I think that's all. I've said so way too many times. I will have the Justice for Breonna Taylor petition to be signed, link down below. It's free, no cost. You can donate if you would like to. So I hope you guys are having a good day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.